This is episode 9 of the Racco Strength and Fitness podcast. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about 6 very common mistakes that I find people make in the gym that either hinder their performance or ultimately prevent them from reaching their goals whatsoever. Okay, so let's go take a look. Right off the bat, not warming up properly is a very, very common mistake. I made it for years, when I was a young, inexperienced lifter. My mindset was, I'm young, I'm athletic, I've never felt like I've had to warm up or do really anything before. I was just, good to go. Now, I'm a little bit older. I feel like I need to, warm up to get in and out of bed. Not that that's the point, but but just encouraging you to warm up is not exactly what I want this session to be about. It's how we warm up. So the purpose of a good warm-up is to prepare our body for work. It increases our core temperature. It increases blood flow to our muscles. Now, your method of warm-up should be fairly similar to what we are trying to train that specific day. What I mean is, if we're planning on squatting, benching, or deadlifting, walking or jogging is not really relative to what we're trying to do. It might be a good way to elevate your core temperature, but doesn't really translate to those lifts. So I wouldn't really just go from walking on a treadmill 5 minutes to jumping right into a deadlift, okay? Personally, I like to recommend having a general routine that you can do day in, day out, a general warm-up routine that you can do day in, day out. But that doesn't mean you can't deviate a little bit depending on, the type of training that you're doing. So let's say, our training is going to be very squat and pull, upper body pull specific. I may want to add in, more squat, lunge, leg warm-ups and more, pull warm-ups, as opposed to, if I'm not really doing any hinges, maybe I cut back on those a little bit. Also, in preparing for, big lifts, it's also beneficial to warm up doing the actual exercise. So what I mean is, let's say, in my program, I'm planning on squatting 85% of my 1 rep max. I may start with a set of 8 at 50% of my 1 rep max. Knock out 8 reps, put a little bit more weight on the bar, so now I'm about 70% of my 1 rep. Maybe do a set of 6. Put a little bit more weight on the bar, get to about 80%, do a set of 2. So using the actual movement to warm up is also beneficial. We don't just want to hop right into our working set. Poor technique. Another thing, I was guilty of as a young lifter. You'll find that a lot of these I was actually guilty of, and it's kind of the idea that created this podcast. Because I don't want people to make the same mistakes that I did. I mean, I've had injuries, setbacks, whatever, not entirely due to lifting, but I'm sure, lifting with improper technique, being stupid, blah, 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 definitely didn't help. So again, this is my whole purpose of doing this. This is me to use my experience to inform anyone who cares to watch, listen, so you can learn from my mistakes and don't repeat my mistakes. So yes, poor technique, something I was guilty of, something I'm sure a lot of, novice lifters are guilty of. Again, it's not taking the time to learn how to lift. Obviously, we all want to, throw a bunch of weight on the bar, throw it around, but that's not the best way for us to go about, achieving our fitness goals. Obviously, performing a technique better, safer, more efficiently is going to prevent more injuries, but it's going to make you stronger. Better technique equals, a more efficient movement, which then equals a better lift and better gains. By making yourself the most efficient lifter possible, you will also make yourself the strongest lifter possible. I know it doesn't sound exciting or sexy to preach, technique and form. Will it make you safer? Yes. Will it make you a better lifter? Yes. Lifting doesn't necessarily have to be throwing around the max amount of weight all the time for you to, get stronger, be fitter, be healthier. Incorrect breathing. Now, this might not be something that you guys think about. It wasn't necessarily something I thought about when I was lifting in middle school, high school, but it 100% has a huge effect on our lifts. Proper breathing technique begins with an inhale during the eccentric portion of the lift and an exhale during the concentric portion of the lift. If you're performing a Valsalva for a little extra support, remember Valsalvas give you a little extra spinal support by increasing your internal pressure. We want to inhale, hold our breath, and squeeze our abdominal cavity before and during the lift. We finally exhale after a single rep has been completed. Proper breathing helps give your body more support by syncing your body with the movement of the exercise. It allows the flow of the exercise to move freely. And again, it also gives you that support if you're performing that Valsalva maneuver, more spinal support, especially on those big lifts like squat, bench, deadlifts. I would not recommend holding our breath for a considerable amount of time, more than one single rep. But also, if you are performing a Valsalva maneuver, your blood pressure will spike. So what I'm recommending is to breathe in between each rep, okay? By not taking that breath, allowing your blood pressure to settle a little bit, to get more oxygen into your system, you run the risk of passing out, okay? So yes, if you're going to perform a Valsalva and hold your breath between each rep, or during each rep, definitely breathe once each rep is completed, okay? Now this one, in my experience, is generally female-centric. So what I mean by that is a lot of my clients, female clients, are worried about, lifting heavy weights. They fear getting too muscular or too big or too bulky too fast. Let me use this as an opportunity to relax, any fears or reservations that you might have. If you're a novice lifter, and if I can get you too big and bulky within weeks or months, I'd be a millionaire. Because there are plenty of people who are trying to get too big and bulky and they want to do it fast, and they usually end up turning to some sort of pharmaceutical enhancement. So right off the bat, if you're new, there is no way that you will get too big and bulky within a set of weeks or months. That I can promise you. I can also promise you that as a female, your job is already more difficult to put on muscle mass than it is for males because of how you're hormonally different. Okay? So you're already at a disadvantage when it comes to putting on muscle. If I was to train, you and your husband or brother or boyfriend or whoever in the same exact manner, obviously not the same weights, but the same, training regimen, your results would be different. Put down, the pink 2-pound dumbbells. Let's stop doing hundreds of reps in the name of trying to tone. Don't be afraid to pick up heavier weights and do those sets of, 6 to 8 to 10 to 12, as long as it's in the guidelines of your goals. Also, something to consider. The more muscular you are will be the smallest that you will be at a given weight. All right, so what do I mean by that? Muscle is dense. Okay, we've all heard, muscle weighs more than fat, which is misleading, because a pound of muscle is exactly the same as a pound of fat. Just like it's like the question, what's heavier, a pound of brick or a pound of feathers? Right? It's a pound. A pound is a pound. But because muscle is denser, a pound of muscle will take up less space than a pound of fat. So, if we have two identical women, they're both 145 pounds, one is 30% body fat, the other is 15% body fat. Again, they're the same exact weight, they just differ by 15% body fat. The 145 pound woman with 15% body fat will be significantly smaller than the 30% body fat person. And again, this is because muscle is dense, it takes up less space, or you appear smaller. This is also a big reason why I tend to preach to clients, like, don't weigh yourself, step away from the scale, throw it out. It doesn't matter. Your weight has zero effect on your health whatsoever. All it does is tell me, how much of you is there. But that's another video for another time. Okay. Too soon. So if staying too light for too long is generally a female trait that I found, then, Going too heavy too soon definitely leans heavily in the male portion of my clients, especially young males. Going back, using myself as an example, I was just as guilty. You want to throw as much weight on, you want to toss it around, you want to look good in front of your friends and in front of the girls you want to impress, the boys you want to impress. This goes hand in hand with the improper technique that I was talking about. If you haven't mastered a specific weight yet, and now you're throwing more weight on, there is no way that you're going to be able to control that new weight, that heavier weight, with the proper form, with perfect technique. It kind of goes with the old adage, just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you should. Instead of focusing, on the outcome or a new personal record, focus on, perfecting that technique, making your lifts as smooth and efficient as possible. Remember, better technique equals more efficient lifts, which inevitably will make you stronger. So in another video, I covered, picking a program that fits your goals, lifestyle. Again, making a long story short, there's a lot of them out there. So my best recommendation is, take the time, do a little research, ask questions to find what works with you. Then you have to stick with it. Nothing good comes overnight. Accountability and consistency are the foundations of success, no matter what you're doing. If you're picking or creating a program, if you're comfortable writing your own program, fantastic. But there should always be reasons why you pick every single exercise. So if you ask your trainer or your friend or whoever gave you the program, why am I doing this specific exercise? And they give you the reason of, well, it's to make you tired. Find a better trainer or a better friend or a better reason. The purpose of training is not to make you tired. It's to make you better at some certain aspect, whether that be a certain movement or, strength or mobility or stability, or increasing your cardiac output. Literally any reason, but the reason should not be to make you tired. There needs to be, a specific reason to include it into your training, or you end up wasting your time. That's all for me, everyone. I hope you were able to learn something that you'll be able to apply in your future training. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel for more training content in the future. Happy training, everyone, and remember, grab the bull by the tusks.